Hey folks, CA Rachna Ranade here and I welcome you all to the last video of 2025. I hope you all have made some year-end plans. Please don't tell me in the comment section. Enjoy it by yourself. Okay. So what are we going to discuss about today's video? We are going to talk about a metal which is being talked about a lot, and the name of the metal is copper. If you have seen my recent videos, I have done a video on gold, I've done a video on silver. Today we are going to understand so many things about copper, but you might be like, Rachna, why all of a sudden copper? There is a reason behind this. In the last 1 month itself, copper has shot up by almost 30%. And if I'm talking for a time frame from September to December, copper has shot up by more than almost 60%. So we have to understand the reasons behind this big rally, right? And for that, we are going to try and answer 6 questions. Which are these? The very first one is, where is the demand for copper coming from? Then we'll try and understand which are the top 10 copper supplying nations in the world. When I'm saying copper supplying, here I'm going to focus on countries which are mining copper. Okay. Then we'll try and understand why is the copper price skyrocketing. And the moment prices skyrocket, investors are like, how do we participate in the rally? And many people over the last 3-4 days have asked me this question: do copper ETFs exist or not? We're going to answer that. We are going to do a technical analysis of this, and very important, we are going to understand how India is reacting to the same. So video is going to be extremely informative. Keep on watching the video till the end. Whenever prices of copper go up, people are happy, but whenever the prices of my courses go down, people are happier. And based on your requests, this is a year-end discount on our courses that I'm announcing right now. If you want to enroll for a single course, you get a flat 10% off. Don't forget to use this coupon code. And if you are enrolling for a combination of courses or combo courses, that's the coupon code that you can use to avail a 15% discount. Now, which course to enroll for is also a question which is very frequently asked. So for that, if you check our website, if you're a basic beginner, absolute beginner, and you want to start with absolute basics, mastering money management and mutual funds is the course for you. But if you want to learn about the magical world of stock market right from scratch, to if you want to go to the level of taking decisions on your own without asking anybody, you need to go ahead with basics of stock market, fundamental analysis, technical analysis, and decoding price action analysis as well. Once you do these 4 courses, you will be able to take trades confidently by yourself. Very important point is, apart from this knowledge, once you complete the courses, you'll also get a nice certificate that you have successfully completed my courses. Not only this, you will also get some additional perks that you can see on screen. You'll also get access to a Zoom meeting, a monthly Zoom meeting, where you get an opportunity to interact directly with me and ask whatever doubts you have about these courses. So looking forward to you all participating in our courses, upskilling yourself in the coming year. If you want to know more, don't forget to just drop a WhatsApp on this number, and you will find the link of our courses in the pinned comment and in the description box below. Now let's focus on where is the demand coming from. If I'm talking about demand, we are going to split this discussion into 2 parts. First, we'll try and understand demand country-wise, and then we'll try and understand demand industry-wise. Okay. First things first, country-wise demand. China demands 57% of the entire demand, or I can say China consumes. The consumption trend here is that 57% is consumed in China out of the total consumption. Okay. Other Asia constitutes 20%. So if I were to just take an overall consumption count of Asia, including China, that's 77%. 3/4 is only from Asia. Baki Europe 12%, America 10%, whatever. La la. So I hope you have understood where does the major demand come from. It's China, right? Now, if I'm talking about industry-wise usages, building construction constitutes 48% of consumption for copper, 24% engineering, 17% electrical, 7% transport, 4% others. They'll be like, okay, Rachna, we understand that demand is majorly coming from building construction, followed by engineering. But if we are trying to analyze why did copper prices rally, either demand has to shoot up or supply, there has to be a constraint in the supply has to go down, then only prices will shoot up. Now looking at this data point, we don't see that there is a rise in demand per se, because building construction anyways was happening earlier, also is happening today. Engineering was happening yesterday, few years ago, is happening today, and it's going to gradually increase. What's the big deal here? The big deal is not here, the big deal is here. Where? Now let's understand about global clean energy focus. Let's understand about this overall structural shift where everyone is talking about clean energy, green energy, and that is the reason why, if I'm talking about automobiles, now focus is shifting from ICE to EV, right? to electric vehicles. So if you see, one car used to require 48 pounds of copper. Now, if I were to check for HEV or hybrid electric vehicle, copper usage goes up to 88 pounds, so almost double than that of of ICE. Sorry, and if I'm talking about an EV, here copper usage is going to be or copper requirement is going to be 183 pounds. This is almost 4 times of a normal ICE, right? So is copper going to be demanded more and more with more and more demand for EVs? Absolutely yes. Same point, if you remember, I had covered in the silver video, right? One more example, if I'm talking about a wind turbine. Now, a 3 megawatt wind turbine requires 4.7 tons of copper. Now, out of this 4.7 tons, 53% is required by cable and wiring. Obviously, because even if 24% is required by turbine power generator, 4% by transformer, 19% turbine transformer, agreed. But whatever energy has been generated, that needs to be transported, and for that we need cable and wiring, correct? So all these clean energy sources, green energy sources are requiring more and more copper. So is the demand increasing? Yes. Is it increasing slightly more than a gradual increase? Yes. But still, I can't see a justifiable reason why prices have shot so much. Is there a problem with supply? Now, that's the list of top 10 copper mining countries. Again, let me repeat, it's by mine production. We are not talking about first, copper will be mined, then of course it'll have a lot of impurities, then it'll go to a factory where, there'll be a smelting process, and then the pure form of copper will actually come out of the whole process, right? We are not talking about the second half. We are not talking about the production process. We are purely talking about mining. So, which are the top 10 copper mining countries in the world? So if you can see the entire table, you can see Chile is producing 53 lakh tons, or I may say 5.3 million tons of copper is what Chile is mining right now. DRC, which is Congo is mining 3.3 million tons of copper, followed by Peru 2.6 million ton, China 1.8 million ton, and Indonesia 1.1 million ton. Now, if I were to understand about the total global copper production, again, I'm talking about mining only. Total global mining accounts for 23 million tons per year. By the way, this is the data of 2024. Okay. Out of total 23 million tons, if you observe carefully, these five countries, Chile, Congo, Peru, China, and Indonesia, these five countries will account for almost 50% of the supply. So please understand, if anything goes wrong in any of these countries, can I say there will be a problem with the supply? See, right now we have seen that gradually demand is increasing, right? If there is a drop in supply, can the prices increase? Answer is yes. But were there any problems in any of these countries? Absolutely, there were problems. Let's understand these problems one by one. Now, the very first news is of Congo, where a mine was flooded. You'll be like, Rachana, this news is of 29th May. We are in the month of December. What's wrong with you? Nothing is wrong. I'm going to tell you a series of incidents that took place, and because of which the price kept on coming under pressure, supply kept on coming under pressure. Okay, so first thing, Congo, May 29, a copper mine was flooded. What happened next? In Peru, a lot of protesters blocked the copper routes which were used by large miners. See, basically, any mining activity is going to be causing damage to the environment. So a lot of protesters came up on streets and they said that we will not allow you to mine more and to supply more and more copper. So with this, is supply going to drop? Yes. Is that going to create a price pressure upwards? Answer is again yes. When did this happen? This happened in July. This happened in Peru in July. Okay. Now the next one is again in Chile. Now this happened in again July 31st, where there was a big landslide that occurred, and because of which again what happened? Supply went down, price pressure upwards. And ultimately, you can see here there was a Grasberg disaster. By the way, Grasberg is in Indonesia. If you remember, Indonesia was the fifth largest mining country, but this mine in Grasberg is the second largest copper mine in the world. So a big landslide here, can it create a big supply pressure? Answer is yes. And can it actually increase the overall price pressure on copper? Absolutely yes. So if you see here, Grasberg is the world's second largest copper mine after La 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 in Chile. Last year's production was 8,15,000 metric tons. representing 4% of the global output, and that this is where we saw this landslide. Now, because of all these parameters, don't you feel that there is going to be an upward price pressure? Answer is obviously yes. But is this the only thing that created a pressure? Or, I mean, see, we did talk about demand, we did talk about supply. We ultimately need to understand how much was the actual deficit or surplus, because that will ultimately create the price pressure, right? Now, there is a study by International Copper Study Group, and they said that over the last few years, we were in copper surplus, but there is a great chance that we'll be in deficit in 2026. And the estimated deficit is of 1,50,000 tons in 2026. Now, again, one quick question. What was the total copper production? It was 23 million tons. Out of that, deficit is only expected to 0.15 million tons. That accounts for barely 1%. How will this shoot up the copper prices crazily? Now, here comes a very important economic concept which is called as pricing at the margin. Now, what do we mean by this? Let's understand this in very simple words, okay? I'll give you a very different example so that you can actually feel that even a 1% deficit can actually skyrocket the prices. If you remember, I told you in the beginning of the video that in 1 month the prices have shot up by almost 30%, and over the last whatever 4 5 months the prices have shot up over 60%. So how come less than 1% deficit cause such a big price spike? And for that, let me give you a simple example. Go back to COVID days, and you can imagine that 100 patients are admitted right now who need the remdesivir injection by hook or crook if they were to survive. Okay. How many injections are available? 99 injections are available. Okay. How many patients are there? 100. There is a deficit of only one. Correct? Now, the big catch here is that out of the 100 patients who are admitted, none of them knows whether I am going to get it or not. Okay, everyone is going to bid because they understand that there is a deficit of one. Everyone will say we want that by hook or crook, you tell us, because it's finally a matter of life and death. So even though there is one shortage, one shortfall, is everyone going to bid for those injections like anything? And if you remember, the prices of remdesivir injections had actually shot up like anything during COVID. Now use that same logic in the case of copper. Of course, here we are not talking about a problem of life and death, but here we are talking about insane amount of money at stake. Now, why? Because if I'm talking about an EV maker, automaker basically, who has a big order in hand, and that automaker knows that there's going to be a supply deficit of copper, and if I don't get that copper, I will not be able to complete my EV, and I will not be able to supply my EV. My entire production line is going to stop, but for availability of copper. One more example can be, let's say I am a windmill manufacturer. I have already signed contracts with some industrialists, with some companies, with the government maybe, that I will supply XYZ amount of energy, clean energy, and I will not be able to supply that because I don't get the requisite amount of copper. Can I say that can lead to large amounts of losses? Answer is yes. And that is the reason why people will actually bid for that small amount of copper even if it is in deficit. Okay, so I hope you have understood the analogy. It's not about 99 supply and 100 demand, it's only about one. That one itself is causing a big price rise. Now you'll be like, is this what that has happened for the first time? Answer is no, this is not what has happened for the first time. In fact, there have been historical proofs about commodities which are important. Even 1 or 2% of shortage have actually skyrocketed the prices. Same thing happened in 2006 to 2008, where deficit was less than 2%, but prices of copper almost tripled. Similar thing had happened about natural gas in Europe 2022. There was a very small imbalance, but the prices had shot up by 10x. So the same analogy will happen here as well, and that is the reason why copper prices are skyrocketing. And with this knowledge, I'm sure many people would be now interested to know about whether copper ETFs exist or not. That's what we are going to check in the next section of the video. Copper ETFs, unfortunately, do not exist in India. Okay, so no direct exposure can be taken in copper via ETFs. That is understood. Question number 2, can we take exposure in some stocks which are related to copper mining? If you know, there is only one stock before I name the stock. This is not a stock recommendation. This is not a buy advice. If you feel, if check the fundamentals, by the way, I checked Hindustan, the name of the company is Hindustan Copper, which is the only copper mining company in India. Okay, but if you look at the fundamentals, they are not like extremely amazing or something like that. But you do the analysis by yourself. If you feel sell whatever you do. I'm just giving you information about a stock which is the only copper mining company in India which is listed. Okay, now if you look at the chart of Hindustan Copper, you can see that the stock from its topmost point went down by almost 56%. When did this happen? Somewhere around April and May beginning. And if you remember, I had showed you a few news articles. The first problems about supply started in the month of May. And once the problems started, if you remember, once there was a flooding, then there were strikes, then there were landslides. All this started after May. And there you can see that the prices started to increase. And in fact, the September month marked two key cases of landslides. One of them was in the world's second largest mine of copper. And you can see here that there was a very clear breakout of this downward trending line. And you can also see amazing volumes being built up. And from here, you can check the stock price on your own. Last price that you can see here is 22nd September. Last 3 months data gone. Okay. This is about in stocks. What can one do if it is about copper? And last point, it is about taking MCX, multi commodity exchange, futures. And so in the exchange MCX, if someone wants to think about futures and options in copper, are copper future contracts available? Yes. Are copper options contract available? Answer is yes. Is this a recommendation that you should trade? Answer is no. Okay, I'm just telling you the examples. Now again, if you see your last 4 months, you can see this. If you have done my course on price action analysis, this is a very classic example of a VCP. You can see a breakout and the prices have just shot up like anything. Now the only point here is that based on VCP, if I were to calculate the target price, I will just replicate this at the breakout. And if you see here, I'm just doing it quickly. This target has already been met. So as per technical analysis, has the target been met? Yes. Now, whatever prices drive it further or maybe some kind of profit booking, I don't know, that will be more news based rather than technical analysis based, because as I said, first, target at least has been reached based on technical analysis. In the next section, we'll talk about the ultimate point. What is India doing in this entire situation? Now, as far as India is concerned, I hope you already know that we are not in top 10 miners of copper in the world, but are we amongst the top 10 copper producers in the world? Answer is yes. Okay. So, when I read about a lot of interviews or articles over the internet, many experts in this field believe that if we were to ramp up our mining production in India, we need to ensure that there are a lot more public-private partnerships. Because when we talk about such partnerships, private players bring in the speed and execution, and that's why they are saying that you should encourage such partnerships. As of now, no such deals have yet taken place. Let's see what happens in the future. But if I'm talking about the overall copper production, so from ores to actual copper production, we did see a 12.6% increase in refined copper production from 5.09 lakh tons in 23-24 to 5.73 lakh ton in 24-25. So are we progressing in that area? Answer is yes. Now talking about the only copper mining player in India, which is Hindustan Copper, are they also expanding their mine capacity? Yes. From 3.47 million tons, they are planning to increase it to 12.2 million tons from 24-25 to 30-31. So that's almost a 3x or 4x increase. So all in all, it looks like the supply pressure seems to be very much there for the recent future, at least. For the upcoming future at least. And if I'm talking about demand will keep on increasing. So let me know your thoughts about copper in the comment section below as well. Just a fun fact from my side, that this is the first video that I've done on copper in the last 6 years of my content creation journey. So even I learned a lot in while I studied for this. So I hope you also learned a lot as well. If you did, please don't forget to smash the like button. Please don't forget to share this video with your friends. Don't forget to check out the links in the pinned comment description box. I'll see you in the next year. Till then, take care. Jai Hind and bye-bye. You might have come across such advertisements on various social media platforms. Please note, all of these are fraudsters promising unbelievable returns through stock tips. I don't provide any calls or advisory services. I provide only educational content through my social media handles and through my website rachanaranade.com and rachanaranade.in.